Hello, you're listening to Maximum Today's Hobie.
Hello.
And we're reviewing Game of Thrones Kissed by Fire. We'll start at the beginning. The Hound has his fight with Beric Dondarrion. I was waiting for that scene because it's obviously a good scene, and it delivered it. It was a great scene, I thought. It was a good fight. Beric Dondarrion's brilliant.
Yes, I
He's
completely
well
agree.
cast.
I'm surprised that they had it straight away. You know, because it was like the cliffhanger of the last one, Trial by Combat. I'm surprised they got into it, which I liked, because I was like, oh, it can only go up. But the flaming sword, everything. I was like, oh Jesus, this is going to be brilliant.
What do you think of what happened in that fight? Because obviously you didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, it was only during the fight, and it makes so much sense. But it was only during the fight that I was like, of course you're going to use fire, because he's sort of afraid of fire because he's got the burnt face, and I didn't even clock that. And I know that's
they didn't know that.
Not bad, but what do you mean?
Like they didn't know they didn't use it because he doesn't like it. They've
got the flame god as well. But I was like, that's cool, because you could tell he was like thrown back by it. And like you said, it was a brilliant fight scene. I was like, it was anyone's game. I thought anyway. I was like, who is this guy that's good enough to stand up to?
Well, I remember reading the books, and when he said you'll be fighting me, well, don't do that because it's the Hound. Don't, because he's the bee's knees. Yeah. And obviously he lost. So what do you think of Thoros Mir bringing back him to life? I was like,
good. And I mean, to have that power, that's like that's a game changer. You know what I mean? That is a complete game changer. Yeah. Like, I wanted to say, because he says every time he gets brought back that it's less of him. Yeah. So I imagine
they probably can't do it.
You can't bring it back.
Yeah.
So it's still limited, as it were, but to have another chance at life, as it were.
Yeah, obviously he's going to come back less because he has one eye. And obviously, I'm sure his arm isn't working properly because it was nearly chopped off.
Way. Yeah, it looked like he got cleaved in sort of thing.
What do you think of Arya in that scene?
Brings it back, sort of thing. It's still the little girl who misses her father, and I like that.
I did like him because I always got a sense that her and Gendry, like, they liked each other. And Gendry said he's gonna be with the Band of Brothers. Yeah. I thought that was nice.
Lady. I was like, yeah.
We'll move on to Robb Stark. This is a very key moment. The Karstark, seeking revenge, kills the cousins of Jaime Lannister, and Robb decides to cut his head off. I was thinking, would you have done that in his place if you was Robb?
I wouldn't have done, because at the end of the day, and I wanted to talk about this because I don't know what's going to happen next, but I always thought the Starks were going to win. I'm not going to lie, he never lost a battle and blah blah blah, and he's the young wolf king and king of the north and all that.
Yeah, but now he's the king
he's the king that's lost the war already and all of that, and it's like the fact that he's lost half the army. Yeah, I know, it's like it's crumbling around him through no fault of his own, I'd say.
Well, he could have not cut his head off as he was.
But he's trying to stick to his morals and honour and all that, and like it's the whole idea of the axe man should be the one to decide he's guilty or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it is. Person who swings the sword.
No, the person who passes sentence
should swing the sword. Yeah. And it's like he's trying to be.
But he didn't have to pass that sentence.
Could he not though?
Well, yeah, he could have just kept him prisoner. Yeah, say
the army.
As the Karstarks have, been disloyal to me, treason. I won't, I'll punish him by keeping him locked up. That would keep their army, but you might look a bit weak by not.
It's damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. Because he lost the half army anyway, half his army, which I'm so surprised that just the one lord had half his army anyway.
But I
wish I had a running tally of how many troops he started with and how many he's got now, because I know it's
Tywin has 50,000 men.
Yeah, exactly. I would still like to know that, because it is like I can't put a face to it, as it were. Like one lord was half his army, so what's everyone else got? Well, how many did he have?
Yeah, but it is a very interesting scene, and Robb has decided to attack Castle Rock, but he needs to go to the phrase to do that, and it's as you said, it feels like it's crumbling around him, and he knows it, which is good. We'll move on to Jon Snow with the wildlings, with the Ygritte. It's the first bit of action, basically, throughout the series. What do you think of that scene? Because obviously it's a big moment in his life, scene. You know. Yeah. Because he's basically
he just broke his vows.
Yeah, that's ended it now. Yeah. He's he
is not a crow.
Although you'd say that all the officers of the Night's Watch, they go to that brothel.
Yeah, true.
And they do all stuff to them.
True.
So I wouldn't say it's that bad.
I don't see the point of celibacy in a sort of like you're by yourself because you're a criminal. You're at this wall which is horrible. You're there for the rest of your life, and then to make it worse, you can't.
Well, the point is,
anyone.
It's like the Force. It's like you have to stay away from women because there's temptations. Like if you get a woman pregnant, you've got a kid there.
Which is another soldier for the Night's Watch. They're saying they're short of men.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, take it up with Mormon.
I would. Don't worry, I spend many a days going, if I were a lord, what would I do? Yeah. And it's all based around the Night's Watch.
But, it's been going for thousands of years, so they know what they're doing. Yeah. We'll move on to Jaime and Brienne. Locke brings Jaime to Roose Bolton. And that's the first time you see his power. Whenever you see Roose Bolton, I'll say Roose Bolton's one of my favourite characters. That's the first time you actually see him, a different side to him. Because he's always with Robb, and he's always very guarded. He doesn't say much. He just sort of advises. But then, in that scene, that's the first time he says, "Hold your tongue or I'll cut it out." And obviously Locke shuts up immediately because he knows that this guy's, this guy.
This guy, yeah.
But that was good. And I did like the bit where Jaime asked him, is there news from King's Landing? And he said he was just teasing with him.
Yeah.
Messing with his mind.
I don't know how to say this. His sister. Alive and well.
Yeah. He's going to be such a good character. Yeah, we'll move on to Jaime and Brienne in the baths. Because I always thought that was going to be a good scene. Not for those reasons. But it was an emotional scene. Yeah. And you get a sort of different side to Jaime.
And I remember Chris in the last one said, like you said, you're starting to feel sorry for Jaime. You can ignore the fact that he's doing
that's
his
an incest.
That's it. He's an incestuous piece of scum, and now you're like, poor Jaime.
But yeah, it was an interesting scene because Brienne and Jaime there's a chemistry.
Yeah.
Not a chemistry, a connection there. And I'm wondering whether or not, like Gendry and I, are they going to maybe sort of realise their love for each other, which I hope happens.
It's an interesting one, and that was a good scene. Again, you're coming more to like accept Jaime as a good guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's the Kingslayer, but as he said, everyone would have done that in that situation because he's the Mad King.
Yeah,
and what he did saved loads of people. We'll move on to Stannis, and you get to meet his daughter and his wife for the first time. His daughter has this grayscale disease, which makes her skin look like rock, as you can tell.
I sort of felt reptilian.
Yeah, and that's why you don't see her at all. She's always in that thing because he's a bit.
She won't
ashamed. By her.
She won't be his heir, as it were. That's what I imagined.
Stannis doesn't want her to be the heir, but she is. What I think Stephen Delane, the guy who plays Stannis, he brings too much life to the character. He's really good at Stannis. He makes you like Stannis.
And
Stannis in the books because in the book Stannis is a he says one word, he's cold, he's direct, he's not likable.
Right.
Whereas Stephen Delane, he's doing really well, but because he's doing it really well, you sort of like Stannis. Well, I like Stannis.
No, I like Stannis as well. I'd rather him than the Lannisters be in charge, even though he's a bit crazy. It's apples and oranges because in that scene when he just says,
"Get over it."
Yeah, get over it. Davros is a traitor.
That's Stannis. That's Stannis.
I was like, Jesus.
We'll move on to Jorah Mormont with Sir Barristan. Mm-hmm. They've acquired their Unsullied, and you get to meet Grey Worm for the first time. He's a great character. He's not like interesting or anything, but he's just a solid leader. What's interesting about that scene is when Jorah Mormont's talking to Barristan Selmy, obviously sneakily asking,
How much do you know about
me? Do you know that I was the one snitching on her? Do you reckon he does? Do you reckon Barristan does? No?
I think he probably does, because realistically, when you're in that high position or whatever, even though he wasn't because Robert got rid of him, didn't he?
As in he wasn't allowed to sit on the chambers.
That was it. Yeah, but then, if they've all got spies and everything, he probably had his own spies, or Varys might have told him even. You never know.
I reckon he knows.
I reckon he knows. And I'm worried for Jorah. I really like Jorah. I know he's had a shady past.
So you think Barristan's like this sort of thing that sort of crept in and you want him gone, do you?
No, because I like him, but I'm hoping, because even when they had their dialogue, which was brilliant, by the way, it was can't you just leave him? Just leave him. You haven't been there. You don't know how much he really does support the Khaleesi. He made a mistake. Don't rat on him.
He's made the mistake over and over again.
Twice, isn't it?
No, he's been spying on her for a while.
Just leave Jorah alone, alright? That's all I'm saying.
We'll move on to the Tyrells with Marjorie and Sansa and Loras, who's potentially being betrothed to Sansa. I did think this bit was a bit rushed, where Littlefinger sent a spy on Loras, and he finds out that Sansa's gonna marry him. Obviously, Littlefinger, the results of that.
Yeah.
Littlefinger tells Tywin what's going on.
Yeah.
And that scene, the end scene, was great.
That was a brilliant scene. I loved that scene so much.
Yeah, because Tyrion gets betrothed to Sansa, which I'm sure everyone out there is like, what?
Yeah.
Cersei gets betrothed to Loras, and they get put in their place by Tyrone.
Well, that's what I loved, and because I don't like Cersei Lannister at all. Obviously, I think she's made to be the evil one, as it were. When Lena Headey, fair play to her, she acted well in this one, because she was there smiling like, haha, you're gonna have to marry it, and then as soon, exactly. But you know what I mean, you don't want it, and it was like, but know your place in, sort of thing. And she was all high and mighty, and then bang, straight away her face changes from a smile to a what? Don't make me do that. And like you said, put in their place. Yeah. And I like it when people who think they're better than they are get put in their place.
That was our review of Game of Thrones: Kiss by Fire. I would love to hear from you. What did you think of the episode? Comment and subscribe for other Game of Thrones reviews and videos. Visit our website, squarevision.co.uk, for more about us, and thank you for listening.